In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to A Place at the Table, where we try to make sense of the issues thrown at us from week to week by Nigeria. What's your take on this week's headlines? I'm calling mine Nigerian Women in Politics on Trial.
Funke, sometimes facts, they say, can be stranger than fiction. I'm speaking on an established but little known bit of facts. The keys of life, not your type in the Senate, Funke.
Is it the kiss I'm thinking about?
I'll come back to you.
Because it sounds more like romance to me, Andy. Now, if my topic were a movie, it would probably be classed as a thriller or even suspense. And yet, it's happening right before our eyes. I'll be speaking on the changing world order.
Romance, thriller, and for action, especially the kind that delivers results. I'll be spotlighting ease of doing business as a pathway to development.
Action, Kezuma. I don't know about everyone else, but with all the political drama and the drama in our homes, in fact, my tired is tired.
I can understand, Aisha. Your tired is tired. Our tired is tired, actually. But here at the table, we're only just getting started. They say the business of nation building is not for the faint-hearted. So you pull up a seat and allow us to ginger you. Nigerian women in politics on trial. What a dramatic week it has been for Nigerian women in politics. Nerve-wracking to watch events unfold. As I thought about the multiple incidents of power play involving women in politics, from Lagos to Abuja, the phrase political intelligence floated to me. The ascension of Meranda as the Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker held so much promise, yet it ended in her resignation and the return of the impeached Speaker. The powerful Governor's Advisory Council resolved the matter clinically. Honorable Desmond Elliott could not hold back tears at the turn of events, although that is also contextual. Lagos politics is strange, but it is stranger times for democracy across the world. Politics is certainly not for the lily-livered, nor the cloutless in Nigeria, of course elsewhere in the world. Supporters of America's President Trump once broke into the legislative chamber, and they got away with the consequences at the end. In the 109-member Nigerian Senate, only 4 are women. Why move any of them to a less visible seat? The response of the remaining female senators have been fascinating in a sad way. A week later, we're still looking for a spirit de corps from them. A senator said the Senate is for older people. Another said the embattled senator is like her child. Wife of the Senate leader has sued Senator Akpabio, who accused her husband of sexual harassment to the tune of 250 billion naira. And women have protested on the streets of Akwa Ibom for their son to be left alone. Women, we don't have political intelligence yet, a lot of us. See how easily we fall for the divide and rule tactics of men in politics. While men in politics rally support and engage in power play, the women dissipate energy in division, cry, and even counter-accuse one another, or like former Speaker Miranda, wobble through alone. In the Muda Go, Muda Come matter, she was clearly no match for the tough-talking demeanor and force of the now reinstalled Speaker Mudasiru Obasa. To be Miranda'd and to be Obasa'd should become verbs in Nigerian lingo. As we look at accelerating action on the occasion of International Women's Day, we should be looking at how we can accelerate action for political intelligence for women in politics in Nigeria.
I like your closing. Important to accelerate action for women, particularly regarding political intelligence. I think Miranda was a pawn in a power play. I don't even think it's about agenda. It's more about the fact that whoever that taking that role, the way the Lagos politics is structured, the outcomes would have been the same. Alternatively, on the Natasha and Akpabio situation, I have 4 things: evidence and burden of proof. He who alleges must prove. So it would be nice for Natasha to provide evidence of the so-called harassment, and also contextual pattern. Both of them, they have antecedents of the situation. We have the Akpabio and the ex-NDDC bosses situation, alleged situation with harassment. We also have Natasha Wureno, alleged harassment that she had to retract. So again, it takes us back to the situation of he said, she said, and also political and gender dynamics. This entire conversation started around sitting arrangement. The Senate has a defined sitting arrangement based on party, majority, minority. And that particular situation, it's not about gender. It's about the roles of the Senate that is in their bylaw that says a senator can only contribute in their designated seats. I like the fact that she has taken legal action towards it and also inserted a petition. But the petition was thrown out due to the fact that she's not eligible to institute a petition, to sign a petition she's presenting herself. It's so sad, the level of women representation at the National Assembly and also the State Assembly. Why?
I agree with Zuma when she says that this particular issue in Lagos has nothing to do with gender. Right? If it had been a male, the outcome would have been the same. It has to do with the power dynamics in Lagos. And unfortunately, I hate to say this power dynamics will not see a shift until there's a different party in power in Lagos State.
Why do you say so?
Because the current system has been enshrined almost as a political rule, right? That certain entities, all right, sit in certain places and then dictate and decide. The only way it can change is when the electorate themselves change the order and tell them that, no, you cannot just sit down and decide how you want to do this. The people in the House are our representatives. Right. They're not the representatives of some godfather sitting somewhere. On the Natasha, issue, I also want us to be very, careful, in terms of how we present it. Now, we know the House and the Senate is a house full of rules and norms and things like that. Now, so when you come out and you say that, okay, when you make an accusation to say you were denied certain things because of your gender or because of some, something that's going on between a sexual harassment, like Zuma said, you have to have evidence. And some evidence has to be also corroborated. My point is that at the end of the day, when you look at it on the surface, it looks like a he said, she said situation. And for me, what that does is that it basically could harm real sexual harassment cases.
It can be difficult to prove. I'll tell you my personal experience, of which if I'd escalated it, it would be a matter of prove it. How would I have proven it? I've gone to pick up a job to, as compare. We finished the business, the deal, and we were going to have lunch. It was an open place, and he smacked my behind. Will I have said to him, wait,
do it again
do it again so I can record? Or what do I do? How do I prove it? Yet it happened.
I think we joke too much in this country, okay? Like, this is a sitting senator and a petition is thrown out on technicalities. How will you and I on the streets now be heard? I mean, if a sitting senator makes an allegation, she has the right to be heard, and the Senate president also has the right to make his case. In New Zealand, the minister resigned after arguing with his staff, and he touched her arm. He didn't hit her arm, he just touched her. He resigned from office. Anyways, on the response of the female senators, one casting aspersions on some aspersions on her colleague is shocking. The lawsuit of 250 billion by the wife of the Senate President, ridiculous. Finally, no one is an emperor. No one is above the law. You don't carry yourself like you're an emperor. You could be totally innocent, but if they take you to court, you go to court. Okay? Why? What are we hiding? Anyway, in the case of females representation in the Senate, for elective offices, it's a bit dicey. Okay? No one will give it to you. Just like we're saying, youths are not there.
If you look at Rosa Parks, when she decided not to stand up that day, it wasn't about the seat. It was about the fact that she was tired. Her tired was tired of all the injustice. And that's the same thing with Senator Natasha. She had gotten to a place where she said she was tired of the things that were being done to her because of certain things that happened, which she later explained, you know, in that interview. And when we come out to say that, oh, the person who alleged should prove, first of all, you talk about the fact that the wife of the Senate president had gone to court.
Yeah.
It was a smart move. It wasn't about the 250 billion. There is this thing there that Natasha shouldn't, part of this thing there that she shouldn't grant further interviews. So you're asking her to talk where? The Senate president does not have immunity. We should be calling for an independent and public investigation into this whole matter. Let me tell you something. In terms of this politics we talk about, right? Most of the women that get there is tokenism. Yeah. A lot of them have to defend patriarchy because the only way they were rewarded because they bent down to patriarchy. Coming back to the case of Meranda. Lagos people think say they're smart. Most of them think they are on the table. They don't know they are the menu. It's because of captured citizens. Slaves. We've been enslaved in our country. And so therefore, we are not in charge of the politics. The people that are there at the Lagos State House of Assembly, they know that it's not the people that put them in. It was their paymasters or whatever that put them in there. And so they are the ones who pays the piper dictates the tune. That's what is happening there. It's not the people. If it was the people that had put them there, then they wouldn't do what they're doing right now. And then we continue in this manner. We'll continue to see this go on as long as people refuse to take part in politics. Because nature abhors vacuum. People want to go and be focusing on the things that they're doing. We think, oh, politics is dirty. Meanwhile, they are using it to dirty our lives.
It's a commonly held knowledge that there is power in unity, yet it's difficult to put into practice. I wonder why.
Indeed, Funke, knowledge is power. And sometimes it doesn't really take much to gain that knowledge. Today, I'll be talking about something that we should all know, the whole world should know, the keys of life. I know you might not believe me, but medical professionals also do have a great sense of humor. We jokingly call cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, the keys of life, but it is no joke at all. CPR is emergency treatment given to someone whose heartbeat or breathing has stopped. It is simply trying to restore breathing and heartbeat through chest compressions, either alone or in combination with blowing air into the mouth. It is a basic life skill that should be taught to everyone in schools, workplaces, the market square, anywhere, everywhere. This is hardly the case in Nigeria. I was on the IBB golf course in Abuja the day retired Major General Jemi Tola, the former aide-de-camp to former President Obasanjo, slumped and died. I heard the news later. I'm not sure if CPR was done. It may just have saved his life. But as I said, I do not have the details of the surrounding circumstances when he slumped. There's this song by USA for Africa, We Are the World. Parts of the song goes as follows. Maybe those with nice voices can sing. There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. There's a choice we are making. We are saving our own lives. Away from conspiracies today, I'm sure this is one topic all of us will unanimously agree on. We all must come together as one to ensure those in authority institutionalize CPR trainings anywhere human beings are found. we might just be saving our own lives.
We have inshallah and the blood of Jesus. When you say people to so let me just let you short the kind of people with everything. You tell somebody, say, oh, so you want me to smoke? on a more serious note, you know, when I saw this in your head and you say kiss of life, I just remember that picture that they called kiss of life on these two workmen. One was electrocuted. I think that was when they first had that, coined the phrase, and then he had to do the CPR on him. We usually, as a people, we don't think of prevention. We always think that it can never happen to us, or we can never be victims, and so most times people don't do anything about it. But I think it's something that should be everywhere. People should learn how to do it. I have done CPR. I was like a teenager on my brother. I had a brother who suddenly just collapsed. And I had to do probably. So for me, it was just from reading books and learning about it and all of that. Then my children actually have certificates. They've learned all of that, and they do have certificates in that. But I think it's something that we as a nation, we should be implementing this, and most especially remove that spirituality where we feel we can never be victims. Oh, inshallah, it can never happen to me, and all of that. I'm covered with the blood of Jesus.
It's quite sad that even among health workers, not all of them know how to do CPR. In my opinion, I think CPR should be institutionalized in our curricula, starting from the primary school, letting them know what CPR is about and the different use cases. By the time students get to secondary school, they should be able to give the basic CPR. And then by tertiary, and then we have clubs like JET clubs. Why don't we have first aid club where you can partner with Red Cross, you can partner with Emergency Response Africa and all of those organizations to ensure that students are equipped with the right skills and knowledge to support their community and their schools.
First of all, now I know that Andy can't sing to save his life.
Because we could have sang that song, by the way. It was such a good song. I was really looking forward to it.
Sing it. We are the world.
There comes a time.
I don't want to scare
We need a certain call
when the world must come together as one.
There are people dying. It's time to lend a hand to life.
What do you think?
Greatest gift of all.
Which one did you?
We are the world.
No.
We are the children.
We are the ones to make a better place. So let's start giving. Thank you, everyone. So Andy, enroll for classes. But on a serious note, I think we are undermining the influence of creatives. I think they can graft the process of CPR or Kiss of Life into storytelling and reflect this so that people, they influence, they wield, and then people begin to learn it, to begin to come into the consciousness by even watching movies. Secondly,
good heads are better than one. I didn't even think of this angle at all. To resuscitate people.
Yes. Then secondly, the religious bias. In a nation where some states are closing schools because it's fasting season, imagine if both main religions we have in Nigeria were now closing schools because we are fasting. Then you now say, come and learn Kiss of Life. Are you going to say men on men, women on women? And when it happens in reality, in real life, real life, and it's only a man that is there to do a Kiss of Life for a woman dying.
And even when it's going to happen.
Let me just jump in. In those cases, the rules are waived. Absolutely.
But you know that many people will not.
People. And even the issue of closing schools because of Ramadan is just nonsense. It's just political Sharia. They're just doing their own thing. Nobody closes school because it's knowledge. It's about learning, and the Prophet ﷺ is big on learning. So why are you closing school? Because there's Ramadan, and one of the objectives is for you to empathize with people who ordinarily in their daily way of life don't have food to eat, the poor. So if you now close school, how are you going to feel empathize? It's just nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
I had an experience once, and it happened in the office, and this is a serious environment, with a lot of HSC, rules, training. We've gone through all those trainings. If you work in the corporate environment, you're forced to do all this training. Yet there was somebody that collapsed in the office, and the first people that rushed there, the first thing they were doing were speaking in tongues.
What?
And it was a reflex action.
I'm surprised that you're surprised.
I probably live in a bubble.
It was a reflex action. And sometimes, I got to realize that people do those things not because of, they're just...
They don't know better.
They don't know what to do. So they're panicking. And then the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, as we say, they start to scabash. and this is the tragedy of our time, that people die for things that they don't need to die for.
True.
People died, they don't need to die. And I've seen cases after cases of people maybe they just slumped, or maybe they just had some, probably just a moment of fainting. And because their body was deprived of air for like 2-3 minutes, they die. Gosh. And so this is this case of life, okay, is something that we need to teach in schools. We need to, disseminate in movies. We need to do it in homes. We need to really liberalize it and democratize it. Make it like something everybody can do easily. And with the simple caption, you can save a life.
That's right.
If you kiss a life.
Yes.
Hey,
Oh, I love that.
you can save a life if you kiss a life.
No,
Right, Baba.
no more closing remarks from me. You have stolen the shoulder.
Haven't you seen the one where there was a fire outbreak, I think in a market or something, and then some Nigerians were praying?
Instead of calling the fire
I saw one in a residence in the
Then
neighborhood.
there's one of what's this thing called a transformer
Yes.
spot, and people were praying.
Okay, so I feel like some Nigerians, they ascribe spirituality to where they should have used common sense. Because
Absolutely.
why are you praying? Yeah, you can be praying in your mind and still be doing the things you're supposed to do.
I saved my
you need
sister's
to-
friend's life. We went out for Christmas party, She called us on our way home, had an accident. When we got there, she slumped. She was fine at first. She slumped. It was the CPR I gave her, and then she jumped up. So we were supposed to go to club. One of my friends, not you guys, say, we know they go again. You, they lucky, you don't kiss girl already. My God. You don't kiss today. The message is that important, which is why we tried to sing it, just to get that point across.
Whether we sing about it or not, the signs of a changing world order are all around us. The important question is, where do we stand? In his book, Changing World Order, Ray Dalio talked about the cycle of change. He posited that for the past 500 years, the world has witnessed the rise or fall of empires, from the golden era of the Dutch Empire in the 1600s to the Victorian era of the British Empire in the 1800s. What is an order? It's a governing system for people dealing with each other, which typically changes after wars, but it is sustained and ultimately declines due to economic inequalities and challenges. The Dutch, the preeminent power in the 1600s, created the first publicly listed company and the first stock exchange to fund it in 1612. Amsterdam was the financial capital of the world, and the Dutch guilder was the reserve currency. In the 1800s, when the British were the preeminent power, London was the financial capital, while the pound was the reserve currency. The current world order, formed during and after World War II with the Bretton Woods Agreement, established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, with New York as the financial capital. If the sequence of the rise and fall of empires over the last 500 years is to be believed, I think we're on the verge of a new world order. The signs are there, but I want to focus on a recent ominous event. Last week, many witnessed a shocking spectacle at the White House where the Ukrainian leader, an American ally, was bullied and humiliated by his host. What we saw should not be seen in isolation. It's just another installment in the big circle signaling a potential shift in a global world order. Since 9/11, the US is estimated to have spent over $8 trillion on foreign wars and trillions more to maintain bases in over 70 countries. With national debt exceeding $36 trillion and the rise of other potential reserve currencies like the euro, the yuan, and the BRICS +6, it appears things are falling apart and the center can no longer be sustained. Apologies to Junior Chibe. The US of today can no longer be relied upon to preserve 80 years of post-World War II international order. In fact, they are more aligned with Russia than they are with their allies. The question is, where is Africa and Nigeria in all these realignments? What is our strategic interest as others position themselves for what is to come?
When are you going to stop stepping on America's neck? Because I noticed back to back for the past couple of years. Let America breathe. On a more serious note, well, what Nigeria can do is masterful alignment. We cannot afford to take sides because, you know, we are where we are, but we can afford to deepen our trade ties, not have any major alliance, just make sure that we are spread across board. And it's also important for us to avoid over-reliance on any particular country. And most importantly, we need to be able to prepare for worst-case scenario, whatever eventuality, we need to self-insulate ourselves to whatever it is. Another thing we need to do is diversify our economy. The large part of our export is still crude. So we need to look at other options. This is a time to double down on agriculture. And most importantly, the resources we have in abundance, our human resources. Nigeria could be the world's exporter of talent. So we can also position as that, and that is not largely affected by world dynamics. It is only affected by demand and quality of education. So the more we invest in our quality of education, the better positioned we are globally. Another thing we need to do is win ourselves of foreign aid. And for Africa as a whole, Africa has to be united. A united Africa cannot be left behind. They will have to negotiate with us.
I've always said, Socrates said democracy is the second worst form of government, only better than tyranny. He described in detail everything you see playing out in America, how the democratic man would become insolent. We saw what happened with Ukraine. I was in shock. I tapped my wife and said, am I watching a movie? Is this happening? You know, and how it becomes a government for the highest bidder. We saw Elon Musk sharing millions per day in the election, and he has been rewarded. Classic. It was as if Socrates was looking at America and writing, describing democracy. Well, if we must do democracy, I think a parliamentary system, because as Aisha was saying earlier, it appears as if we are already in a degenerate situation with what is happening in the Senate. But I think if maybe we revert to a parliamentary system, we might be able to start introducing some sanity. Answering your question on what do we do. Then on the issue of aid, you know, so aid is actually an agent for the world order that you're saying, for that control and influence. You understand? So, but be that as it may, yes, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, just as Zuma was saying.
Funke, before you come in.
All right.
The previous changes in the world order, from the Dutch to the British to America, Africa was never on the table.
You took it right away.
Nobody asked us our interest. They sat, Africa was on the menu on the table, yes. They actually sat to decide our borders and our future and everything.
You literally took it out of my mouth. So I'll still stick to my script in answering you.
Africa was a place at the table.
The first thing is we're seeing the decline of fine diplomacy that the U.S. had hitherto been known for. I mean, that spectacle between Zelensky, Trump, and Vance was just It's just
Shocking.
And then I looked and said, is this not the vice president? The height of it for me was that question posed to Zelensky about why is he not wearing suits? It's shocking.
At least respect him small.
Honestly. But let me move on. And I was going to say, even in Africa, there's a new world order. If you look at ECOWAS, if you look at the West African region, you see that a new order is emerging. They're saying no to ECOWAS, and they're forming, their countries forming a new order,
Alliance,
their own new alliance. But I'll leave it at that and move to the North and South, the issue of aid. Last time I was here, I talked about Nigeria's billionaires.
Billionaires, okay.
Uncharitable billionaires. Here we are.
The Euros passed.
And these Euros passed. So now, here we are. If we are going to come into our own, our billionaires will have to step up and begin to give aid, proper aid. This is the time for the global south to come into their own. You cannot be dependent forever. And there's a reason why wealth comes into people's hands. It's not for you to be donating things that don't make sense. Help your people.
And I'm actually surprised that you guys are surprised at what happened with Zelensky. Is it not Zelensky was it not about the case of Ukraine? I think Zelensky was the president then when they impeached Trump. He tried to get him to get this thing on Biden. And you know, this man, he has gone after everyone that has stood in his way. Somebody that is already desecrating the institutions, over there in the US. So for me, I think it's a normal thing. Once upon a time, UK was the world power. Argentina had their own, Denmark, China, the Mongols, a whole lot. So that's usually how it goes. But for me, what I take out of this, it's not even looking for a seat at the table. We've not carried spoon. Which table? Which seat are we looking for? We've not even found our spoon. It's not when you have spoon, you know where to go to go and look for your seat. You know, most times people just think, oh, Nigeria, there's nothing we can do. Democracy has failed. And I keep saying to people, democracy is not rocket science. It's about the kind of leaders that you put in office. The things that have happened now with this current administration, with Trump's presidency, is something we've never seen with the US, because you had people who had competence, character, and capacity. And so there are conventions, there are certain things that are not in the Constitution, they are not written in black and white, but you know not to do them, or you know to do them this way. And they've always followed because of the kind of people they've put in leadership. Now you have people who don't care about that. And you saw when Trump will even take his running mate, not even like the last one that he had that would hold him back a little bit, someone that will support him and egg him on and anything he says. So it's about the big man, it's about the strong man, not about strong institutions. That's where we are. That's where we have strong men and women rather than strong institutions. And so that's the same thing also with the US. So for me, as Nigerians, we should look at that and say, okay, maybe the problem we have is not about democracy. It's the kind of people that we've allowed to get into office. Can we now go back and begin to get people with character, competence, capacity to be in our leadership position so that we change the country? It's now we regime the country and we get ourselves that we now have not only the spoons, we even have the table that people will now want to come and have a seat at that table.
US that we thought had strong institutions. Honestly. One man in 6 weeks has caused so much. So where are the institutions?
At the end of the day, that soft power, they're going to lose a lot. Americans are going to lose. Zelensky wasn't humiliated. No. Trump ended up humiliating himself.
So who is going to win at the end of the day? Is it China? Is it the EU? Is it nobody knows. But we're in that phase, and we need to be conscious of that and then start the realignment. So realignment is a practice of repositioning in response to change. Failure to do this means that our trajectory is off course with inevitable consequences.
Allow me, but sure, Yinka, I'll be looking on the bright side at what happens when we align ourselves for positive change. Five years ago, the executive governor of Kwara State, Governor Abdulrazak Abdurrahman, ordered the reduction of the right-of-way fees for fiber optics in Kwara State. The right-of-way was slashed from 5,500 naira per kilometer to 1 naira per kilometer. The The idea behind the reduction was to improve connectivity and digital penetration in the state, stimulate more business creation in the hinterland, increase the state's ease of doing business ratings, and to create social and economic impact. This move was a game changer. It sent a clear message. Kwara is open for business, and its government is committed to removing barriers to progress. The ripple effects of this decision were profound. IHS HoAS, a global telecommunications giant, took notice of Kwara's progressive digital policies. Inspired by the governor's commitment to fostering a digital economy, partnered with the Kwara State government to co-build and manage the Ilorin Innovation Hub, a facility designed to ignite creativity, nurture entrepreneurship, and drive technological advancement. This partnership, formalized through a Memorandum of Understanding in November 2023, showcases the power of public-private collaboration. Today, the hub is completed and poised to become one of Africa's finest, a beacon of progress that will create thousands of jobs, foster startups, and position Kwara as a leader in the digital economy. This wasn't a solo effort. It was the result of a governor who welcomed private sector participation, turning a bold policy like the ₦1 right-of-way into a catalyst for transformative investment. To other governors across Nigeria, ease of doing business isn't just a buzzword. It's a lifeline for our people. When you lower barriers, you don't just attract development, you ignite a movement. You create an ecosystem where private sector ingenuity meets public sector vision. You build a future where we can all be proud of. Let's take up this challenge. Let's slash bureaucratic red tapes. Let's offer incentives that draw in private partners. Let's build a Nigeria where every state shines. Let's build a Nigeria where the private sector isn't just a participant, but a partner in progress. The time is now. Let's make it happen together.
And you say, let's build a Nigeria where all states shine. I say, let's build an Africa where all countries shine.
We need charity begins at home.
Yeah, and I know I'm heading somewhere with this. When people do good, especially African leaders, we should celebrate them. Talking of a strong man in Rwanda, Kagame. So I'm looking to invest in Rwanda, and I call a lawyer, and I say, how much to register a company? He says it's free. You just pay the lawyer fees. I was shocked. But look at the effect on Rwanda, just like what His Excellency Abdulrazak did. I think when our leaders do such things, we should recognize it, celebrate them just the way you are celebrating him. And yeah, ease of doing business. We can all see how Rwanda has become a hub for almost every international event in Africa, within the African continent, just because of a policy that welcomes people and allows you to do your business with ease. So I totally agree. Kudos to Kwara, kudos to the governor, and kudos to Kagame of Rwanda.
Let him be Kagame, where rule of law. People are being killed for daring to be part of opposition. Strong man. Mugabe was a strong man. Where did he carry Zimbabwe? Yes, that's what happens. They become strong and then they end up destroying the country.
Kagame,
yes. Because it's shocking. Then, you know, when you said 5 years, the first thing I was like, they've done 5 years already. I think sometimes that's one of the things that people who get into office, especially elected offices that have a term limit, don't realize that 8 years is just like a blink. If the life is there, it's when, I mean, if you are not around, if you go before them, that's when it becomes, you know, forever. And I think this idea that he did of reducing the money for this right of way, it's really a masterstroke. And the effect of it, we be there for a very long time. And this is what we keep talking about, that when we are talking about creating jobs, it's not to just bring some monies, billions of money to start sharing to people, say, oh, I'm putting in the 20 billion to... No, it's about policies. The kind of policies you make, we bring an enabling environment, and then people will be able to use that. I'm talking about the digital economy, and you see, this can go a long way. There are a lot of people who are working, who are doing remote jobs, and Kwara is a place compared to the rest of Nigeria, it's relatively safe. I don't hear a lot of this thing there. And then, so people would want to come there. And then the connectivity, you know, the internet and all of that, they're amazing. People who want to live where they are, where probably it's very hard for them to get basic things that they need, and move into Kwara and start working from there. And when they start working from there, it will have an effect, because there will be more money that will be spent, you know, within that particular state. The government will then be able to earn more taxes, and you know, it goes on that way. So that's the thing normally that citizens just want to see the right thing being done. And so kudos to him. He has done well for his people, and let him also remember it's just 3 more years. And for me, it's not about how you are feted or whether you're praised now. Is that let 100 years from now, when they talk about Kwara, let his name always be mentioned as the man who took Kwara to where it would have been.
Thank you for that, Aisha. As an add-on, Kwara is the only state apart from Lagos, Abuja, and Kano and Port Harcourt where you can do a return flight to Lagos and Abuja every day.
Oh, yes. Wow.
So it's primarily positioned for a lot of things.
Oh, okay, see?
First of all, I want to congratulate Kwara State for that hub that's been completed. According to your advocacy, it says it's poised to become one of Africa's finest. And so that has positioned Kwara as a leader in digital economy. And I agree with Aisha, that ₦1 right away is a master stroke. But the quote that jumps at me from your advocacy is this, and I'm going to go back to it and quote it. You said, when you lower barriers, you don't just attract development, you ignite a movement. I think that's the start point for me there. Here at the table, we've talked about governors being emperors. I think it was Ande who did that advocacy about governors being emperors. But you see, when you flip the coin and you find a governor that is leading the way in terms of engineering change, Inka, you talked about cycle of change. Look at what's happening in Kwara now. We hope that will be sustained. And I'm going to join you in telling the governor of Kwara State, well done, and thank you.
There's this concept of governance that says that the work of government is to put the structures in place, the infrastructure in place, and get out of the way.
That's it. That's it.
Just get out of the way. Because business will find its own way. They will find where the opportunities are. So where government does the right thing in terms of creating the environment, whether it is through export-free zone areas, lowering taxes, ease of doing business, commerce will find its way. You don't need to do anything about it. They see the opportunity and then they will go after it. And that's why we must commend the Kwara State government for what they did here. I mean, at the table, we call them out, you understand?
Absolutely.
So when they get it right, I mean, we should use them as a model and as an example. Now, the beautiful part for me is it's the potential of the digital economy in Nigeria. And that is estimated to contribute somewhere between 13 to 18% of Nigeria's GDP in the next 1 year. Already it's contributing something almost like 10% of Nigeria's GDP. And that's significant.
Impressive.
And that's really significant, really. So any state governor right now, any state governor, which is also the reason why sometimes when we go back to this conversation that we're talking serious conversation, some people are talking about closing schools for Ramadan. And it's like, look, are you guys for real? Do you really understand, what is at stake?
But they are for real, though.
They're for real?
Yes. You know why? If you keep the people, if the people are impoverished, they are not educated, you control their votes. So they are potential
you control
votes.
their thinking.
We think they don't know what they are doing, but they actually know what they are doing.
Because
it's a control mechanism.
Yes.
It takes me back to this conversation we had some months ago about the VAT thing, where it was being proposed that for derivation, for instance, a lot more of the formula should be devoted to those who actually produce and consume within the state. And then we had several states come and say, no, we don't want that. We want it to be the way it was, where a lot more was allocated on the basis of equality and population. So, look, you have a large population in your state. You have young people. They need phones. They are on their phones. Whatever they are doing it on their phones. Then the internet, they need that. It's an opportunity to copy what has happened in Kwara State and implementing it.
Just to add, Zuma, I think you need to frame that quote. When you lower the barriers, you don't just attract development, you ignite a movement.
Own it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But you know something, Ika, when you mentioned this Ramadan thing, and then now tomorrow, you talked about the VAT. Tomorrow, some people will say that they are educationally less developed, and should be given certain quota, when they are not doing anything to get themselves, developed.
Is that why you're tired this time?
I'm telling you, Allah is tired. I'm tired.
It is what it is. Like I said, the time is now. As it is said, whenever we wake up, can be said to be our morning.
I like the energy, Zuma. But what are some of us who are tired of waking up only to be bombarded by the usual drama? My tired is tired. Where do I start from? By this time last week, I had my advocacy all prepared. I was going to talk about how older women continue to be the gatekeepers of patriarchy, or should I even say defenders of patriarchy. This was in respect to the saga between Senator Natasha and Senator Akpabio. You almost by now have heard of the weighty allegations made against Senator Akpabio. And instead of there to be a demand for public hearing and investigation, what we have seen has been a number of older women making light the allegations, with one even saying that Akpabio jokes a lot. There's nothing funny about sexual harassment. Another said the other 3 female senators were not sexually harassed. Can you imagine such a response? Anyway, I changed my advocacy midway to focus on the show of shame we witnessed at the Lagos HoAS of Assembly, where the ousted speaker has been reinstated. The whole charade was even televised for the whole nation to witness. The deputy speaker, who was elected speaker, resigned and was then nominated as deputy speaker and voted in, while the speaker she had replaced was now nominated and voted in as a speaker. It is said if you are not Nigerian and they explain Nigeria to you and you understood, then they did not explain Nigeria well to you. After all of that, came the news of a man killing his wife because of Ramadan food. I knew I had to change my advocacy once again. A 50-year-old man in Bauchi has beaten his 24-year-old second wife to death in the holy month of Ramadan over food. It gets my blood boiling when people, especially some women, make light of cooking roles issues. This entitlement that a woman has to cook has gotten some men taking the lives of women year in, year out. When cooking issues come up, some trivialize it and say people are wasting their time on the matter. It can be life and death matter in this part of the world, where women are seen as disposable commodities and not enough laws to protect them. Even when there are laws, there is not enough enforcement.
And really, our tired is tired. I hear you loudly because your advocacy is a little related to mine. This part about older women being gatekeepers of patriarchy is just sickening.
Yeah.
How you say only older women should be in the Senate. Older people yeah. Should be in the Senate. So older people, I mean, I don't get it. What's the logic here? And then Senator Itagiwatu came and said her own. And then this was a child. I don't understand.
Even your own child.
I don't get it. So older women should do better. You see, there's a generational difference. In your generation, you kept quiet and allowed things to be. In this particular generation, people want to speak out. People want to say, no, don't do this. They've watched their aunties, their big aunties being trampled upon, men getting away with, oppressing them. This generation is saying, no, we don't want to be. Cooking. I remember a long time ago when I met, and that's when I got cured of that. When I met Pastor Bimbo, the late Pastor Bimbo of the Fountain of Life Church, and she said to me, Funke, I'm not a good cook. I'm not a great cook. So I'd rather mind some other things and allow some other people to do that. How many men are willing to bring in a cook into their houses? That's the question, because they say, we both went out. You went to hustle for a job, for your work for today. She went to, you all come back in traffic. You flip on the TV to watch Arsenal and Kiniko.
And then
you expect me to go.
How would they have political intelligence?
I like us.
No, but just to quickly, in your own case, at least they all went out to work. What of the one that is jobless at home all day? The woman that is working will keep breakfast and she has to come and cook the rest of the
I don't get it.
Okay.
I understand why you're tired is tired. I don't even know where to start from. So the senator that is saying that the other 3 senators, female senators, were not harassed, is she advocating for equal opportunity harassment? no female senator should be.
Today we are having a lot of quotes
Punchline. Every sentence is a punchline.
I'm writing that down.
And these people, the older generation, need to understand that we did not inherit the silence of our mothers.
Yeah.
And we also did not inherit their patience. The things they were comfortable with dealing with and repressing, we are not going to do that. We were not. They did not raise us to do that. We were raised to be loud about our pains and our challenges. So the man who killed his wife because she did not prepare iftar on time, it's quite sad. And most of the time, when people talk about cooking, a man being entitled to a woman's labor in marriage, it's not particularly about the act. It's about authority and audacity. I'm a Muslim woman. I always tell men that you are not entitled to your wife's cooking.
Yeah, not at all.
Your job is to feed her.
Feed her.
That's it for me.
Yeah, so I think it's sad that we've progressed from a country that had a 32-year-old as head of state into a gerontocracy, right? Now, they've been used to being in power. This generation we're talking about were mostly, apart from a few in Lagos and some places, were the first generation to be educated in their families. So their parents actually listened to them, and we as their children, we listened to them. So they are not used to being told anything by anyone. That is why we'll have somebody now saying the Senate is for older people. IBB was 25 when I was commanding a battalion. If you're lucky, no matter how good you are, that you are not able to make it when you're 60 or 65 or 70, we have to have a cap. That is the only way we'll end this. Groom somebody else. Now, on the issue of the Ramadan food murder, I want to approach it a bit separately, right? So there are a lot of mental health issues in this country that are not being dealt with.
They also said that he abuses them, he beats them.
Yeah,
so probably she's
be
fasting
checked.
also. So it's about violence, domestic violence. So he's used to doing that.
Violence,
and she was fasting that day.
This pattern you have just described, right? It needs to be checked. There are a lot of mental health issues that are not
manifest as violence.
Yes, that.
But the mental health doesn't carry them to go and beat their fellow men that can beat them back.
No, you've not heard the story of how he relates outside, Then finally, what you cannot do, Aisha, is give up. You can't be tired. People like us have to enter government.
The issue of mental health, I think it's a very valid point. However, I'm also concerned that a lot of times we bundle a lot of all this
under menstrual health,
domestic violence,
mental rather,
or even just some crazy behaviors under mental health. Everybody has mental health. One of the things that came out with the last Humanity Index that was released was that intimate partner violence, was higher than just even other what we know as sexual violence or other kind of thing. That is, the place that the woman is most vulnerable is the place where she should feel most secure.
Safe, yeah.
at home.
Yes.
It's something that we really need to have, that conversation in every strata, whether it is government, the traditional institutions, homes, religious institutions as well. One thing that saddens me in Aisha's advocacy is on the 3 points he raised, he had men, that were like the aggressor.
Now.
I didn't even link that.
Yeah, you didn't link it.
I didn't let
Everyone, you had the case of a man.
The men are the ones making you
And
tired.
so we have to have a conversation.
Yinka, let's relocate.
Not to relocate from being
They
there.
don't want the men. They don't want to go
So men have to have conversations with themselves.
I think just like what Yinka has said, we also, like older women, need to also look into the mirror. And this is what Zuma said, we did not inherit the silence of our mothers.
You took that from me. That's going to be my closing.
And I think some of the things also, we should also be open to learning. There's nothing wrong. I've learned a lot from my daughter.
I'm just going to agree with what you said. I really, really want to quote this, this lovely quotes from Zuma that says, "We did not inherit the silence of our mothers. We also did not inherit their patience. Allow us be.
Let us breathe.
On a serious note, we wouldn't be at the table if we weren't in it for the long haul. As they say, tired or not, let us live to fight another day. Join us again, same time next week, same channel, where we'll be tabling fresh topics that matter to you and us. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us. Bye.
Bye.
Angela.